え、バトラ君、今なんて。
降参だよ。俺はカノン君にこの扉が施錠できないことは証明できた。だからといってジェシカを誰が殺したのかを特定できたわけじゃない。
いえ、十分です。
Okay. Here's a crazy idea. When it is said that the window is locked from the inside, that window doesn't necessarily need a key to be locked, right? If it was done by a human, maybe they prepared a long ladder outside, but in order to also lock the window from outside, to make it look like it was locked from the inside, they would use some string of sorts to pull the window and ultimately pull the mechanism that locks the window from inside. But other than that, I cannot say that I know how a human could have done it without going the easy way around. Like the easy route of suspecting the servants with their keys. So I'm gonna resign on this as well. This is rather pointless to me since I know Beatrice was the one that killed both Jessica and Kano. But we at least proved that it was not Kano that did it, and Battler did at least try. So I would consider this a fail.
そのカノン君のためにありがとうございます。
Right.
礼なんかいらねえ。それはつまりシャノンちゃんも疑ってるってことなんだからよ。ローザおばさんもごめんよ。別に反抗したかったわけじゃない。俺も死にたくないし、親父たちの本当の仇を見つけ出したい。協調性のないこと言って悪かったぜ。
いい、私も少し軽率だったわ。仲直りしましょう。おばとおい同士仲良くしないとね。
Auntie Rosa shifted the gun to one hand and held out her other hand. Auntie's gaze was sharp. In order to deny the witch, she would make anyone a sacrifice. And that's what her eyes told me. And me? I denied the witch. But I wasn't prepared to lose anything. I was probably the one who thought himself most ready to fight, and the one standing furthest from the truth. With Jessica's death, it became certain that the culprit was hiding somewhere nearby, and that they would come after our lives if they had a chance. According to Genji-san, when tomorrow morning comes, the boat should arrive. The boat has a radio too. We'll probably be able to contact the police immediately with that. We all gathered in the parlor, and it's decided to wait quietly until tomorrow. Yeah. I propose that we should search throughout the mansion for clues about the culprit. But Auntie Rosa rejected that, saying that if we put pressure on the culprit or provoke them, it might lead to a third murder. That was probably the right thing to do. Even if a bunch of amateurs like us investigated, there's no way we'd find anything. It would be wisest to focus on protecting ourselves without doing anything unnecessary, and leave it to the police after tomorrow. We had been tense in the beginning, but other than Auntie Rosa, most of us had spent all morning watching TV and were getting bored, so our sense of danger had grown much less intense. When we thought about it, even though there certainly had been 6 adults killed at once in the first murder, That made us imagine that some backhanded method like poison had been used. And in the second murder, it was thought that those two had become sacrifices because they were unfortunately isolated from the rest of us. From this, we imagined that there weren't a great number of culprits, and they didn't have the ability to kill this large group gathered in the parlor all at once. Right now, in this parlor, there was George Aniki and me, Maria, Auntie Rosa, Genji-san, Goda-san, Shannon-san, Kumasawa-san, and finally Dr. Nanjo. A total of 9 people were here. Furthermore, Auntie Rosa was even armed with a gun. Surely, with this many people staying in this room, they wouldn't be able to touch us easily. That feeling of security, along with the passage of time, allowed us to recover from the shock of that morning bit by bit. Incidentally, lunchtime had just ended for us. However, it had been a canned food launch, a far cry from last night's dinner which Goda-san had skillfully made for us. Auntie Rosa too had suspected that poison had been used in the murder of those 6 people. So, we probably couldn't deny the possibility that a culprit had snuck into the kitchen during all that confusion in the morning, and mixed poison in with the ingredients there. Auntie Rosa had ordered all of us not to put anything into our mouths, except safe foods like canned food, until the police came. As a cook, Goda-san must have felt very let down, as though he wanted to display his skill anyway. He said that he at least wanted to bring the plates and pile them up with canned food. At first, Auntie Rosa had been reluctant, examining each one of the plates that were brought, but she hadn't been able to find anything to complain about. And Goda-san's chef's picked canned food combo lunch had become a reality. Goda-san had said something about taste being savored not just with the tongue, but with the eyes too. I found myself agreeing. Yeah, it had been the same canned food we ate for breakfast, but it felt like something completely different.
バトラ見て見てこれが狼と羊のパズル
I still don't understand why Kanon decided not to use his magic sword in the first game. He knew that he was going against a powerful entity like Beatrice. And that is something that is still irking me even after all this, like... And it's still in my mind. As I was sitting lazily on a sofa, with no desire to watch TV, Maria came over, pulled a picture book out of her handbag, and handed it out to me as she'd said that.
What? なんだよ、その本は。
Also, I guess to add to the theories that we added for the last murder, for the second Twilight, for conversation's sake, well, I know that Beatrice was the one that killed both Jessica and Kanon. I just thought of this new idea. The key that Jessica had, the one that Rosa found in her room, like if it was not a servant with the master key, maybe it was Rosa who stole Jessica's key at some point. Like, she stole the key, locked the room with it, and later when the room was unlocked with the master key and everyone went in, Rosa managed to put the key somewhere and then take it as if it was the first time she found that key, to make it look like she found it there, to make it look like he was in the room the whole time. It's similar to how in some cases you have somebody hide behind the door when a group of people barge in, and then the killer blends in with the crowd or escapes through the door or something like that. The reason why I'm even thinking about this is because of something that caught my eye, like much later, during the conversation that Balder and Beatrice had. Badler at some point requested to Beatrice to repeat that the last time that the door was locked was with the master key, and Beatrice denied that. And, well, at that point we cannot tell if she denied it because it was impossible for her to tell that because it wouldn't be the truth, or she's denying that on purpose because it would be advantageous to us. But if we are to go with the idea that she couldn't say that because it was impossible, but because that was actually the truth, then maybe somebody did use Jessica's room, like key room, to open that door. Which leads me to the theory that maybe it was Rosa. But then again, with that kind of mentality, it really could have been anyone that entered the room and put that key on the stand without anyone noticing. Like before Rosa came in to check that key. Like it could be anyone, but yeah, I guess so.
狼と羊のパズル？どれどれ？
Wolves and sheep puzzle. It was a phrase that Auntie Rosa had said this morning when we had gone to call on Jessica. At the time, I didn't know what it meant. And then after that, there was the uproar when Jessica's body was found, so I forgot about it completely. The book that Maria held out to me looked like a foreign picture book or something that had been translated. Opening it, I could tell that the book contained an assortment of puzzles.
何匹かの狼と羊をね、一台のボートを使って対岸まで連れてくパズルなの。
ああ？そんなルールのゲームを聞いたことあるな。これはそれの狼と羊バージョンなのか。
Yeah, I guess so. It is one of those games where you have to bring them on the other side, but you cannot have a sheep and a wolf on the same boat or something, otherwise the wolf will eat the sheep. It was a very simple puzzle, passed on from long ago. Let's try one of those problems. On the right back, there are 2 wolves and 2 sheep. There is a boat that as many as 2 animals can ride on, and using it, you have to move all 4 of them to the opposite left bank. There are 2 rules. The first is regarding the boat. It can be paddled by wolves or sheep, and even just by one animal on its own, but it can only hold up to 2. The second is regarding the wolves. When they are greater in number than the sheep in that location, they attack the sheep and it's game over. For example, at the start of the game, both sheep ride the boat and go to the other side. Then, one sheep gets off and the other goes back to the first bank. When it does, there are 2 wolves on the first bank, and a single sheep returns there. When that happens, there are more wolves, so the sheep is attacked and it's game over. On either bank or even the boat, there must not be more wolves than sheep. It's a puzzle about how to shuttle them across in the boat under these conditions. By the way, the right answer is, on the first turn, move both wolves to the opposite bank. Then one wolf comes back. On the second turn, move 2 sheep to the opposite bank. Then one wolf goes back. Then, on the third turn, put that last wolf that was on the right bank on the boat and cross the opposite bank. And congratulations, transport successful. Partway, there may be the same number of wolves and sheep in the boat or on the other side, but that isn't the problem. You only lose when the number of wolves is greater. This book symbolizes it using wolves and sheep, but there are probably lots of people who know this same game with a different symbolism. It looked like Maria wanted to test whether I too could solve the puzzles she knew how to solve. And she kept showing me different pages, saying, "Solve this one," and "Ooh, this one's hard." What had been happening when Auntie Rosa had said the name of this puzzle? That's right. When we decided to call Jessica, we had been talking about how many men should go. And Auntie Rosa mentioned the wolves and sheep puzzle, and said that we should all go together. That could only mean one thing. Auntie Rosa was saying that there are wolves among us. And when the number of wolves and sheep is balanced, we are safe. But when a situation comes up where that isn't the case, the wolves will bare their fangs. Is that what she's thinking? At the time we had found our parents' corpses, Auntie Rosa was already suspecting that the servants might be wolves. Well, she didn't know whether it was all of them or just some. She had sniffed out the possibility that the wolves were hiding among them. No. Yeah. That murder scene was pretty damn elaborate. It's easy to imagine that there were multiple culprits. And considering that she had that idea already in mind when we went to Jessica's room, where Jessica had been alone with a servant, Kanon, and had been killed, it isn't hard to imagine why Auntie Rosa had suspected the servant so persistently.
使用人の皆さん、合田さんが食器を洗いに厨房に戻ります。念のためです。皆さんも同行してください。
皆さん、申し訳ありません。団体行動で参りましょう。
シャノン、熊沢、行くぞ。
はいはい、ただいま。
それではジョージさん、一度失礼いたします。
うん。気をつけて。あ、ローザおばさん。僕も一緒に行っていいかな。
ごめんなさい。ジョージ君は残ってくれるかしら。ちょっとお話ししたいことがあるの。
そうですか。シャノン、ごめん。とにかく気をつけて。一人にならないでね。
はい。
南條先生、すみません。ちょっとご相談が。
はい、何ですかな。
The servants put the dishes and empty cans on the serving cart and started to head out into the corridor. Behind them, Auntie Rosa was talking to Dr. Nanja about something in a small voice.
わかりました。参りましょう。
ええ、よろしくお願いしますね。
Dr. Nanja closed the book he had been reading, stood from the sofa, and followed after the servants. Auntie Rosa stuck her head out into the hallway, and after watching them leave completely, she closed the door and spoke.
みんな聞いて。これで今ここにいるのは後ろ宮の人間だけね。
ん？確かにそうなりますね。
Taking out the servants and strangers out. Little does she know that I'm hiding behind the ficus. I can be quite a good ninja.
狼を全部追い出したってことっすか、ローザおばさん。
With that one sentence, Auntie Rosa's gaze grew sharp. Apparently, she had picked up on my sardonic tone. Auntie Rosa laughed lightly.
バトラ君は頭の回転が速いのね。賢い子は好きよ。話が早いわ。
おお、バトラー頭いい？これ解ける？64ページの難しいの。おお。
マリアは少しの間テレビを見ていなさい。ママはバトラ君たちとお話があるの。
おお。
ローザおばさん、パズルの話はバトラ君に聞いたよ。用心深いのは悪いことじゃないと思うけど、さすがに疑り深すぎるのもどうかと思うよ。
真の犯人がベアトリーチェかどうかは別にして、少なくとも使用人たちがその一味であることを疑うことはできると思うの。兄さんたちが殺されていた最初の殺人、とても残酷な仕打ちがされていたわよね。あれが一人でできる真似に見える。
謎の来客ベアトリーチェ様が夜鍋をしてチクチクやったのかもしれねえぜ。
ジェシカちゃんの部屋の扉をめぐるマスターキーの件は使用人の誰かが関わっている証拠じゃない。
Only a master key could have locked the door to Jessica's room. In that case, we can only suppose that one of the servants locked it. No, wait.
チェス盤をひっくり返すぜ。おかしいよ、ローザおばさん。なんで犯人はジェシカを殺した後、わざわざ施錠したんだ？
True. It is...
施錠すれば、マスターキーの持ち主が疑われるのは必然。わざわざ施錠する必要がないぜ。
Yeah, that's true. It is the... It's so obvious they will be foolish to do this because they will be suspected immediately. Same thing is going on here. I mean, with that kind of mentality, it cannot be the servants. I think it was similar to... It was similar to the first game when we suspected the servants of the murder of the first Twilight, I believe. Because they knew the location of the key that needed to be used on the locker, like outside. That's...
そうだよ。バトラ君の言う通りだ。わざわざ疑われるようなことをする理由がない。
それは面白い考えよね。もちろん、私もそれは考えた。だとしたら、施錠した人物は使用人を疑わせたくて、マスターキーなしであの扉を閉めた。でもそれは不可能。でしょ？
It would be possible with Jessica's key. That's right. If there was a trick that could lock the door without a master key, this would be a good disguise aimed at casting down on the servants. If the culprit wanted to isolate us and attack us one by one, this trick was a very effective one that could even give rise to paranoia. However, there was no way to lock that door without using a master key.
マスターキーを使わずに閉める方法がないなんてどうして言い切れるの？ルドルフ兄さんの言っていた悪魔の証明になるんじゃない？私たちには想像もつかない方法で閉められたのかもしれない。私たちに思いつかないからといって未知のトリックがあることを否定することにはならない。
そりゃそうだけどよ。つまりあれか？疑わしきは黒ってわけなのか？
具体的なトリックはわからないけれど、それでも外角はわかるの。申し訳ないけど、カノン君を犯人だと仮定すると非常に簡単に説明できる。死体がない理由までね。
だってカノン君はマスターキーを持ってなかったんですよ。他の使用人ならともかくカノン君にだけは施錠はできなかったはず。
なるほど。それでローザおばさんはジェシカの部屋に入って早々に俺たちにクローゼットなんかを探せと言い出したわけか。
Making us do that would buy some time and distract everyone from Rosa putting Jessica's key where it was. Blech. Why the hell am I even thinking about it? Like, it was Beatrice that did it anyway. Like I keep thinking that it was Rosa that did it, but... Like, maybe I could suspect Rosa of the murder of the first six in the first Twilight, if I had evidence. But no, I am instead thinking of all of these theories that kind of add up, but I don't really have enough evidence to back up all my theories over here. And it's not even that, it's... Like, there's no way that Rosa could have done it.
ローザおばさんこそ普段の様子から想像できるより頭の回転が速いな。
妹の頭の回転速度は常に姉マイナス1よ。今は誰にも気を使う必要がないからせいせいするわ。
Like if I am to think about how I don't fucking know. I mean, you know, this is something that is getting to me a little bit in the sense that it's a little bit confusing. I mean, we didn't even discuss Jessica's key like whatsoever in that whole ordeal that we had before. We talked about the possibility of the servants being the killers, how Kanon couldn't have been the killer, and all, but we didn't discuss we didn't discuss Jessica's key whatsoever. Like, it could not be important, but we have to keep in mind that that key can also be used to lock the door, and yet we talked about the master key being the one to lock that door like every single time. Like, I feel like we're missing some detail over here, but I don't know. Jojo Nikki realized that she was referring to Auntie Eva, and seemed a little disturbed about how he should take the nasty remark.
ごめん。僕にも分かるように説明してほしいな。カノン君のマスターキーはジェシカちゃんのポケットに入って密室に閉じ込められていた。施錠した後に部屋の外からポケットに入れるなんてゲートは不可能なはず。
違うんだよ、兄貴。ローザおばさんの想像しているやり方なら、このトリックはカノン君にしか使えない。
Oh, okay. This is why it was confusing for me. The sequence of events. I saw Beatrice kill Canon and Jessica. There is no room for doubt about that. Maybe after that whole thing was done and all that, and while I was away, Rosa came in later and entered the room with Jessica's key and noticed the death. But in which case, why did Rosa have Jessica's key in the first place? Even if Beatrice was the one that killed Canon and Jessica. Could this mean that Rosa hadn't planned to kill Jessica while she was in her room? Is that why she could have had Jessica's key? If I am to think that Rosa was the one that took that key and put the key... No, that she had the key all along with her. And wait. Does that mean that even if Rosa hadn't planned to kill Jessica, and she saw that Jessica was dead inside, she created that closed room murder anyway? She locked the room with Jessica's room, and then took everyone there to see Jessica's body, and then put the key back there, and took it to make it look like she wasn't there. To make it... Nah, you know, I think I'm being an idiot over here.
そしてジェシカのポケットにマスターキーを入れたまま鍵なしで施錠することができる。そしてその結果として死体もなくなることになる。
どうやって鍵なしでどうやって施錠するんだい？
簡単よ。ジョージ君だって帰宅したら施錠するでしょ。つまみをひねってカチリとね。
まさか。いやでもカノン君の姿はどこにも。
兄貴にもピンときたみてえだな。 ローザおばさんが室内を探したのはそういうことだ。内側から鍵を閉め、ジェシカのポケットに鍵を突っ込んだカノン君がどこかに隠れて俺たちをやり過ごそうとしているのを探したんだ。
The simplest locked room trick. In other words, to hide inside the locked room after committing the murder. Well, it is useless to even think about it to begin with. I mean, we didn't find him. And I doubt that he ran away like that. I mean, he was killed in that room. I mean, there is no doubt about that. And if he could get out after those who discovered the body left, and if he could get out if he could get out after those who discovered the body left, he would create a perfect locked room murder.
私たちはあの部屋を探したけれど何も見つけられなかった。でもだからといってあの部屋に使用人たちしか知らない秘密の隠し通路のようなものがないとは言えない。それがどこに隠されていたかはわからないけれど、その隠し通路を仮定し推理することで彼しかありえないと断言できるのよ。
その推理はよ、俺も一番最初に考えた。一番嫌な推理だから、一番最初にその可能性を潰したかった。
カノンはこの部屋で殺された。であろう？そなたはカノンが犯人であると疑いそうになったため、真っ先にその可能性を潰すためにこれを復唱させたのだ。わかっておるわかっておる。
だからその次に考えたのはこうだった。あの部屋にいたのは実は3人だったという説だ。ジェシカとカノン君は被害者、そして犯人である来客ベアトリーチェも一緒にいたというか。
そなたは人間であるわらわが魔法を使わずに犯行を行ったことにしたいのだったな。なるほど、そなたにぴったりの陳説であるぞ。
お前は2人を殺し内側から施錠した。そしてカノン君の死体を担いで普通の人は気づかない秘密の方法、つまり隠し扉を使って部屋から脱出したんだと読んだ。しかしお前に赤で言われちまった。あの部屋に隠し扉の類はないってな。
うん、お前たちの知らない秘密の通路は存在せぬぞ。ノックスだったかバンダインだったか。
I mean, I do remember that one of the commandments said that there can be no more than one secret room or passage, but I doubt that you care about such things anyway. You could just say screw Nox and put like 5 secret passages throughout these games. Van Dyne, I don't know about him.
何でもミステリーには秘密の通路があってはいけないらしい。そのお作法にわらわも従ったということよ。
Beatrice, you are intentionally trying to mislead us, aren't you? It is no more than one, not that there cannot be a hidden passageway. And who says that realistically a killer cannot use one of those? Hell, a long time ago, a mastermind of one of the cases I solved was found out using a hidden passage, so... yeah.
つまり名探偵は部屋を調べ尽くさずして隠し通路がないと断言できるわけだ。人間の推理ごっことはなんとお気楽なものよの。
くそ、でけえこと言いやがるぜ。ありがとよ。魔女様のお取り計らいのおかげで俺も部屋を探し尽くさずにあの部屋に隠し扉がないと断言できるぜ。うん。
この部屋に隠し扉はない。 扉と窓以外に出入りする方法はない。
ってことはよ、今ローザおばさんがぶってる自信満々の仮説は間違ってるってわけだ。しかも悔しいことにこの仮説は反証不能だ。魔女のお前は赤で隠し扉はないと断言すればそれで決着する。しかし人間の俺はローザおばさんにそれを反論しても受け入れられないだろう。隠し扉がないことを人間は証明できない。悪魔の証明になっちまう。くそ、魔女ってのは便利だな。
そんな、あるかないかもわからない隠し扉を理由にカノン君を犯人呼ばわりするなんて、僕は納得できないな。
納得できないならより納得できる推理を聞かせて。ないのよ。私はずっと考えてる。これしかないのよ。ジョージ君はシャノンちゃんと仲が良かったわね。だから使用人全員が犯人であることは受け入れがたいと思うの。私もシャノンちゃんが犯人の一味であるなんて信じたくない。でも全員であるか否かはともかく、確実にあの中に犯人もしくは共犯がいるのよ。それだけは見誤っちゃダメ。
カノン君以外にも狼がいると見てたんだな。ジェシカの部屋で犯人はカノン君だと大騒ぎしたのは使用人たちの反応を見るためだったっていうのか。
ええ、そうよ。そしてその結果、私は一層の疑いを持つに至ったわ。確実に使用人の中に狼がいる。確実にね。そして狼と羊のパズルのように普段はおとなしくしているけれど、チャンスがあったら襲ってくるに違いないの。ジェシカちゃんは一人で船に乗った羊よ。あのパズルでは頭数の時は襲ってこないけど、私たちのパズルは違う。チャンスと人数次第なら頭数でも襲ってくる。ジェシカちゃんが殺されたように。
僕は怒りたいことがある。じゃあ厨房へ行かされてるシャノンは危険な状態じゃないか。今すぐ僕たちも厨房へ行くべきだ。誰が狼だろうと狼でなかろうと、僕たち全員が揃っていれば均衡するならそれを保ち続けるべきだと思う。
シャノンちゃんはお父様のところへ源氏さんと一緒に行った。その時に孤立したはずなのに殺されなかった。源氏さんも狼ではないから。違うわ、二人とも狼だったからよ。
シャノンは悪事の片棒を担ぐような人じゃない。いくらローザおばさんでもそれは聞き流せません。今の発言に対し僕は取り消しを要求します。
兄貴の前で悪いが、その論法エヴァおばさんの雰囲気にそっくりだな。こっちが反論できなきゃ自動的に自分が正しいみたいな。
Alright. I did not expect that you had it in you, Rosa. To act and think so fast when it comes to this sort of stuff. As if you've read thousands of murder mystery stories or something. It's almost weird.
やっぱり血は争えないな、おばさん。
私だって今の自分はあまり褒められたものじゃないとは思ってる。でもね、私は母なの。マリアの無事を守るためなら鬼にもなるわ。本当ならマリアと二人きりでどこかに閉じこもっていたいくらいよ。でも私は同時にあなたたちの母でもあるつもりなの。今やあなたたちは私の子供も同然。私は自分の子じゃないからといってあなたたちを見捨てたりしない。絶対。
そりゃどうも。
私はあなたたちの母として 油断しないでと警告したかっただけなの。常に私の目の届くところにいて、私があなたたちを守ってあげる。
ついでに俺たちが狼でないことも監視してくれるってわけだ。そりゃありがたいぜ。そういうおばさんは自分が狼ではないって証明はできるのかよ。
ええ、できるわ。
即答っすね。どうやって？
Yeah, please do tell.
これよ。これが証拠よ。
Auntie Rosa held up the gun and pointed the barrel at me. Rosa, you're killing me here. But that was only for an instant. She merely lowered the gun, laughing impishly. But to me, the time I spent staring down the barrel of the gun, it felt like an eternity.
その銃がどうローザおばさんが犯人でないことを証明するというんですか。
考えてもみて。私が犯人だったらどう？使用人たちが出ていったこの千載一遇の機会を逃すと思う？あなたたちをズドンと撃って、あとは適当な言い訳をするだけよ。窓の外にベアトリーチェが現れて銃を撃ってきたとかね。私は2発を撃ち返したと称して2発分の空薬莢を床に捨てればいい。
そりゃすげえ乱暴な理論だが、確かに一理あるぜ。
クラウス兄さんが昔よく言ってたわ。力こそ正義ってね。これがまさにそうなのかしら。ごめんなさいね、二人とも。私も今朝からの事件続きでかなり冷静さを失ってる。普段の私を知る二人から見れば、今の私は余裕がなくて少し短気そうに見えるかもしれない。でも分かってる。私は悪意ある犯人からあなたたちを守りたい。そのためには鬼になる。それだけのことなの。怒らせるようなことを言ってごめんなさいね。バトラ君、ジョージ君、仲直りしましょう。
Jojo was wearing an unsatisfied expression. He probably couldn't forgive the damage done to Shano's honor. What about me? Several bits of circumstantial evidence hint strongly at the servant's participation. I don't want to believe that one of them is the culprit, or possibly colluding with the culprit. But in the current situation, that's nothing but wishful thinking. Who should I believe? In the first place, who is the culprit? Are there accomplices? If so, how many? I feel like I'm constantly unsuspecting the people connected to all this. I find myself quickly forgetting about that 19th person. The guest, Beatrice, who came yesterday boldly called herself the Golden Witch. I haven't actually seen her face. I've heard that she is like a double of the witch in that portrait. But because I haven't seen her directly, no matter how hard I try, I cannot really feel like there are 19 people on this island. So, I easily slip into the illusion that the culprit is one of the 18. Damn it. Come out, Beatrice. If you're the bad guy, then act like the bad guy. And show yourself. You're laughing in a high-pitched voice and looking down on us. Just like a bad guy in one of those dramas who, even once they're exposed as a culprit, aggressively says, "Is there any proof?"
証拠は終わりかの？
うっせえ。てめえはしばらく黙ったら。
There were 5 humans in the kitchen. It was very quiet, filled only with the sound of the rain. It was only accented by the sound of Shannon and Kumasawa washing the dishes. Gata was using the leftovers from breakfast and lunch as ingredients for a servant's soup. Rosa had suspected that poison might have been added to the food, but So they had decided to eat canned food, but they hadn't really been fitting. But Gora thought that she was being too careful. So he was spontaneously creating a soup to be served only to those that wanted to eat it. Shannon and Kumasawa were washing the dishes that the food had been arranged on. On the inside, they thought maybe Gora should be the one to wash them since he had been the one who wanted the food on plates in the first place. But they left their complaints instead for the time being. Genji and Nanjo were facing each other across a crude chess set which had been many years. It had still only just begun. And because the opening game of the experienced players had been endlessly refined, it looked like a ritual where they just moved specified pieces in a specified order.
良い匂いですね。やはり缶詰ではこうはいきませんね。
開封した食材だけで作りましたので、毒が混入しているなんてことはありませんよ。皆さんの分もお作りしていますので、ぜひ食べましょう。もちろん私もお毒味しますよ。安心して召し上がってください。
本当にいい匂いですね。合田さんのまかない料理は本当に美味しいです。
美味しい材料を買ってきて、美味しい料理が作れるのは当たり前です。私は師匠にあり合わせのもので美味しく作るまかない料理を極めてこそ真の料理人だと習いました。
それはいい師匠でしたな。おかげで私はとても美味しいスープをごちそうになれそうです。
親族の皆様にお召し上がりいただくための材料で作ることになってしまったのは残念ですが。
ローザさんも朝からのいろいろでお疲れなのでしょう。無理もないことです。
でもそのおかげで美味しい食材のスープが飲めるのですからね。
Rosa had fervently told everyone that they didn't realize the danger they were in, and that they must suspect that poison was mixed in with the food. The atmosphere in that place had led to their agreement, but their hunger wouldn't be overcome by that momentary emotion.
皮肉にも普段の私たちではとても味わえないスープとなりました。できるなら客間の皆さんにもぜひ振る舞いたいところなのですが。
ローザ様のご指示に背いている以上、よした方がいいだろう。飲みたいものだけ飲むといい。
見えないところで上手に息抜きするのも使用人の心得でございますものね。
Kumasawa laughed loudly, and Shannon and Gora laughed with her. It seemed that in an area where only their fellow servants were gathered, they could be very relaxed. Shannon didn't like Gora's occasional dishonesty, but she knew that there was no falsehood in his childish smile when he cooked, nor in his desire that people enjoy his food. So even though he was a little aggravating to be made to wash the dishes, she couldn't really hate him. However, they couldn't have dreamt that Rosa was calling them wolves in the parlor at exactly the same moment that they were spending their time peacefully like this. At that time, several of the servants heard a sound like something was being dragged, and then a thump. And the servant was all carrying a mountain of trash bags on a rainy day, or doing some work in the raincoat. They would create exactly this kind of noise and presence as they returned and hovered around the back door. So after hearing that sound, at first, none of them noticed anything out of the ordinary. But they quickly realized, in a situation where everyone was either in the kitchen or the parlor, who in the world was at the back door? As the servants all looked at each other, they checked to make sure that each one of them knew what that sound meant.
誰でございます？
The servants knew the mansion's layout well, so they understood how unimaginable it would be for someone from the parlor to actually go outside in this typhoon, go all the way around, and come up to this back door. Then was Kinzo? They found it even more difficult to imagine that Kinzo, who never left his study even under normal conditions, would dash out into the middle of this typhoon for no apparent reason, and come to the back of the house where only low-class people came in or out.
気のせいじゃないですよね。
Yeah, he was probably a raccoon eating the trash. Or a ferret walking around. I paid no attention to it. This soup is great, by the way, Goda.